asking if it's live yet.
Yes, yes it is.
It's saying it's live. It's going to formally wait for it to redirect on Facebook. Okay, so it's redirected on Facebook as being live. So welcome to everybody tuning in this morning. My name is Jonathan Cohn. I'm the chair of the Issues Committee with Progressive Massachusetts, and I'm delighted to have with me today Gladys Vega of the Chelsea Collaborative. When thinking about kind of great guests, Gladys came to mind, given all of the wonderful work that the Chelsea Collaborative does, and how Chelsea has been one of the hotspots of COVID-19 in the state because of a number of like long-standing kind of racial, social, and economic injustices in Massachusetts. So welcome.
Hi, Jonathan. How's it going?
Good.
Excited to be here with you. As I mentioned, this is my break time, so I get to sit down and relax and not run around. I know this type of Zoom meetings because the need is great and there's a lot of people waiting for us to provide services to.
Awesome. And so to start off, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Chelsea Collaborative and the work that you do?
Sure. So the Chelsea Collaborative came about in 1988. There was a group of people that created a 5-year plan to address the growing issues of diversity and the newcomers that were coming in the early 80s because of the war in Central America. These individuals created a 5-year plan. And then I came on board a year and a half later after that plan was developed as the receptionist. So I began as the receptionist of the Chelsea Collaborative. But immediately after I began, I knew that the potential of this organization was too great for me to miss the opportunity. And although I was very young and very rebel, I always questioned the government and questioned processes. And I feel that that the Chelsea Collaborative, rather than being a social service agency of nonprofit organization, because that was the mandate was to provide technical assistance to nonprofit and create new programs, like incubate new needs for those agencies. But immediately after we were doing that, I felt that we needed to organize and that there was a potential to do community grassroots work. That the fact that immigrant families were moving into Chelsea, they were not part of the process. They were not really being welcome. And I had access to them because I was a very strong churchgoer as a young person, not now.
You won't tell, don't worry.
But I believe in God, but no, I don't go to church. I don't practice as much. And so I felt that there was a huge potential. And in that potential, I didn't want to miss the opportunity. So every time, we were in the office and my boss would, I would open mails and we would get a check for a donation or whatever. I would tell my boss, Ed, we should be using this money to provide these type of services. We should be doing this. And at times, there's processes and in the Latino culture, we see a need and we get it done right away. And we don't think about 1 follows 2 and 3. There's a need of food. Let's identify the need. Who's going to provide it? And let's get it done. And in terms of the collaborative, it was all about meetings and these long-term planning processes. And I was like, you know what? Let's get things done. So I would bring church people to ask for those services. So I would tell my church friends, can you go to the Chelsea Collaborative and say that you need bilingual translators at the welfare office? Can you do this? That way I can, with you there, I can put pressure on my boss and my board of directors. And little by little, they got the hint that we can get things done together. And my former boss allowed me to be the architect of pretty much all the programs of the Chelsea Collaborative. And from doing community human services work amongst organizations, we began to do grassroots work. And right now we're the leading Latino-led, the only one in Chelsea that does workers' rights, tenant rights. We do consumer fraud. We hire young people during the summer youth employment months. So we hire approximately 200 and plus young people, and they work all over the city, and they do internships, paid internships. They work in the Chelsea Police Department. They work in City Hall, they work in DPW, they work all over the city. And then during the winter, we then run a year-round employment youth program. We've been doing census work for 4 decades. This 2020 would be my 4th decade doing the census.
Wow.
As you know, in a poor community, the funding of the census is essential, it's a must. And especially now during the pandemic and the aftermath of what would happen in Chelsea, it's huge. So at our food lines, you see 4 members of our staff doing census work, maintaining distance, but asking people to participate in the census. And in a nutshell, that's what we do. Workforce development, we do a lot of workforce and citizenship and immigration.
Awesome. Just really quickly, since the census is such a big issue, I just want to curious, like, how have you been adapting to like what census organizing looks like now? Because like, I'm sure that there's like a large kind of on the ground field program planned originally. So curious to say, like, what are you doing to make sure that you can connect with people and so that they realize just how important it is for them to fill out the
So I would say that we had a plan. We had all the t-shirts. We had the materials. We were feeling luxury. We were feeling like we have everything under control. We were part of, the Census Coalition at the State House, at the state of Massachusetts. We were meeting with Cheryl, with Beth, incredible women that, had a plan, and we planned it together. And the Boston groups with Mimi Ramos, all of them, planning this amazing kickoff for May 1st. And May 1st happened and it went, and we're providing food and worrying about people dying and people being tested. So it's very hard for us to think about talking about the census when people are being evicted, when people are displaced, when people don't have food in their homes, when mothers don't have diapers, when a mother says that, when her husband came from the hospital and after he had COVID-19, the family was told that they needed to leave that apartment, that they were the room that they were renting in this apartment, because he could expose COVID-19 to the rest of the people that are renting rooms. And we needed to immediately relocate this family as a whole and find them another room with a member for 3 months. And now I have to worry June 1st, what am I going to do with that 4-member family that I have in 1 bedroom because of COVID-19 and because there was, the promise for my member was 3 months, and I have to maintain that promise that I'm going to prove them. So in terms of the census, imagine, how do you talk about that while having all these needs? But I actually use it when we train our staff about beginning to do census all over again. The city said, we want you guys to do it. And we were like, we're ready. We've been trained to do it. But, culturally and being sensitive to the needs that the people are facing right now is my priority, right? In people where they're at. So I do every time we open our food pantry, which is Tuesdays and Thursday, I walk the line while people are waiting half an hour before. So at 4:30, I'm walking the line. Last night we had 4,000 people.
Wow.
Yes. So I walk the line and I in groups of maintaining distance, and while we're online, I'm like checking in. Hey guys, how's it going? Are you guys having problems with the landlord? Any issues with homeowners? If you're a homeowner, have you approaching the bank? Are they helping you, etc.? I do just a wellness check, and then if you have COVID-19, don't forget we are providing meals to 379. We can add you to the list. You don't have to be in this line right here. We don't want you to be.
Yeah.
We pull their name and phone number and pull them aside, get their information, send them home, and then we deliver food. So I do that, and then at the same time, I'm gonna have someone from the staff talking to you about the census. As you may know, the census is a questionnaire to find out more about the family composition, who lives in the city. It's basically a count. And you may not care about it, but now for the city of Chelsea and the state of Massachusetts, it's more important than ever for you to respond to that census. Many of you may not have a job to go back to because the business that you were working on are gone. I have friends that are not going to open their businesses in Chelsea. Bodegas are not going to open, not as many as they were because they paid rent and they didn't have a cushion. Some of them opened like recently new, like in the past year. You know, when you open a business, it's the third year that you begin to see a little growth and you're able to probably pay your own salary. So I tell them about how important it is for the census to be, for the people to be counted. I said, you know, in 2010, we counted 38,000 people in the city of Chelsea. We didn't have then 38,000 people. We probably had back then 60, 65. That's what I was in my grants. Right now, the city of Chelsea, probably in the last 10 years, we have developed over 6,000 or more apartment units. All those people have children. All those people may have, you know, 2 or a significant other, 3 people living in their rooms. That is, you know, money that the city of Chelsea is losing because we're basing our expenditures based on 38,000 people. So people have been very welcoming. We've been very successful. But you also have to understand that while people are in line, some of them are afraid of sharing information because of immigration. Tell them all the time, and I go publicly in Facebook and tell people that please answer the census. The Chelsea Collaborative, as the group that has been doing immigration work for the last 30 plus years, you know, I've been arrested twice in detention centers. I would never, ever ask you to do something that would jeopardize your future in the United States. So please, if we tell you to respond to the census, it's because the census doesn't share that information. ICE, it cannot share with anyone or use it for anything other than the count, the census count. So we explain that a lot, and our staff is trained, and we be getting people to respond, but it's gonna take a lot of work. I mean, I'm hiring probably today 10 more people to do census work because we need to have as many people. But it's very hard. Imagine maintaining distance.
Yeah.
Talking to people and then asking them to sign in the tablet. It's very, very difficult. So for us, it's a challenge. It's not as easy. The Chelsea Collaborative needs to do their census. You know, it's a little bit more than that. And I'm always thinking about our staff. You know, last, I think it was Friday night when I got home from leaving the office, I was very sad because I have my right-hand person got the virus, COVID-19, and she had been working from home. And I finally, 4 or 5 weeks ago, she asked me, do you want me to be in Chelsea? And I said, if you can come twice a week when we have the peak of our food distribution, I would love to have you around engaging with the community and stuff. And then she gets sick. And I feel horrible that she got COVID-19, and I felt like, oh my God, maybe someone in the community gave it to her. Probably she had it. She probably was exposed from a delivery person that delivered something in her home or whatever. But I feel horrible. So I'm always asking people to work for me, but understand that when you're working and doing and even volunteering, we all take a risk. That's when people come in, I spray them down, we take their temperature, but it's very hard. But I have to tell you sincerely, Jonathan, that although the city of Chelsea is going through a very tough time, the COVID-19 wasn't the main factor of why people got very sick and the spread was so prominent in our community. The fact is that Chelsea has been neglected for decades. That people in Massachusetts, companies in Massachusetts get away with not paying fair wages. Our workforce, 80% of our residents that work, they work in the service industry. And they work in these jobs where they don't have protected gear, where they work long hours, they don't get paid overtime. When we have to use our worker center to challenge those companies to pay them back wages. So our situation is not something created by COVID-19. It's something of a city that is poor, that has continuously been neglected. A group of individuals that work very hard, whether they're documented or undocumented. People are sometimes in this myth that when you get wages stolen, oh, there must be undocumented, they don't have papers, they don't speak up. That is the reality too. But citizens of the United States, young people, wages stolen. You know, I have a Puerto Rican woman like myself who's a citizen of the United States, in a local restaurant here, being paid $5 an hour when the minimum wage at that time was $10 an hour. And we had to sort of like do a protest, and we had to organize for our wages to get paid. We won with the Attorney General Labor Division. That case, we probably win close to $1 million a year. In one case of wage theft with 15 workers, we won $975,000 for those people. The Federal Labor Department kept 50 for their fees and stuff. And we gave $950,000 to those workers, 14 workers. 7 of them were TPS, other work permit, and then a small amount were undocumented. But all of them were wages were being stolen, and the conditions that place were horrific. So, you know, COVID-19 just put everything worse. Proximity to Boston, the fact that we live so close to Boston, you know, we're gentrified. You know, people all the time, you know, today we get food, tomorrow we'll have mattress here for people to come and sleep here because nobody's sleeping under a bridge because they're not able to afford their rent. You know, this eviction moratorium, that people were going to at least respect it. No, we have no police who's my tenant organizer working to prevent eviction. She probably tried to stop 4 to 10 cases a day on evictions. So evictions in Chelsea are happening, even though it's illegal and people shouldn't be doing it. I mean, I called the woman, this woman, and I said to her, you can, you know, I doing my self-awareness, self-wellness check in the line. I found a woman who said, Miss Vega, I have until Friday to stay in the apartment. If not, my landwoman said that she's going to kick me out. And I said, oh no, give me her phone number. Give me her phone number, and we'll talk, and I'll call her. So the lady got her food. She then texted me, this is my landwoman. Her name is this. And I called the woman and I said, listen, I'm Gladys Vega from the Chelsea Collaborative. I was wondering if I can help you with, you know, I'm going to call her Maria's case. She told me that you're trying to evict her. I don't know if you know about the law. You know, the Baker administration and the state legislator, and the Mara Healy passed a moratorium on all these evictions. Nonprofit organizations, and you're not able to evict. And she says, oh, really? Are you going to pay my mortgage? And I said, it's not about paying mortgage. You will also get, banks are also supposed to give you a break. And she says, listen, I don't care. You can bring the judge here. And I said something about the only one that can evict is a judge, and they're not open for 3 months. There's a stop on it. And she says, you know what, Ms. Vega? I don't care about your rules. I don't care about the state rules. You can bring the judge to my house, but unless they're going to pay the mortgage, she's out on Friday. And then I explained to the lady, I talked to my staff here. We were going to put her in a hotel for a little bit. And then the lady's phone gets disconnected.
Oh, wow.
3 times to look for her. I have no idea what happened to her. She's no longer in the apartment. She did get evicted, and we haven't been able to reconnect with her.
Oh, wow.
She probably went to another house to sleep in a sofa, and probably will end up being evicted. So that's the situation in Chelsea.
I think that one point that I think that you highlighted that is so important is the fact of like how much organizing has to happen just to get like those with power to follow existing law. That like we need to organize to improve the laws and make them more just and equitable, but even to make sure that you don't have employers like violating the law by stealing wages or landlords violating the law with evictions, that itself takes work.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Very true, Amy. And even when we change the policy, we change because we do a lot of also legislative work. By the time people get educated on the law, you have landlords meeting a person in the court in the court building. So we have had, Nori, at least the Jesus, who's my staff member, we began to do court wash this winter. And we began to do court wash because we had cases of a landlord citing you to come to the court. They would do a court hearing, and then they said, you have to bring the money, and they will collect the check in the court room or building, but without a court hearing. And if you're undocumented, you want to be really paying. And in Chelsea, we had the ICE agents physically in our court system. So people immediately got scared, and they didn't want to go to the hearing. They paid the landlord right there, and then and then they get mistreatment because they got delayed in the paying the rent. So I mean, the problem with Chelsea and many communities of color, but the problem in general is that there's no rent control. Landlords can increase the rent. I have $600 increase of an 80-year-old woman who's on Social Security. How can you increase $600 to a person on a fixed income? But we can do that because in Chelsea, especially in Massachusetts, you can do that because there's no rent control. So tough luck, 80-year-old not able to get the help.
That reminds me, one thing I was talking to people recently is that there are so many people who still seem to have this like taboo around the term rent control. But the way I was like talking about it with somebody is like, do you think that a landlord should be able to raise somebody's rent from $1,000 to $2,000 over the course of a year without doing any work? And like everybody's going to say no. Let's say, oh, that's ludicrous. Okay, so you believe in rent control. Let's talk. What should it actually be? Like, how should we structure it?
Funny, because I never talked to you about that, and you're right. I mean, not fair. I have a volunteer. Actually, I recruited her to help me with the food pantry, so I'm paying her to help me here. But she was paying $1,200. Her new landlord decided that he wanted to keep her as a good tenant because he got the rap that she has been always paying the rent on time. Immediately after he did the closing, a month after he did he became the landlord, he increased the rent to $1,200 more.
Oh, wow.
$1,400. Like when I saw the letter, I just couldn't believe that someone can increase without doing anything to the apartment.
Yeah.
No repairs, nothing. And we don't have like an affluent neighborhood in Chelsea because, Chelsea is pretty, our poverty is well spread.
Yeah.
But this is like the poorest of the poorest neighborhood. And no repairs, rent infested, and he dares to increase $1,200. So for me, the city of Chelsea, because our proximity to Boston, has suffered gentrification. The fact that we have gotten so many things remodeled, and we have gotten the city of Chelsea to be so financially stable. And because our proximity to Boston, people from Boston rent apartments here. We have had these luxury apartments. So if you are in a luxury apartment renting a bedroom for $2,500, right? And I'm the landlord a block from there, do you think I'm going to keep you in a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,300? Absolutely not. I'm going to say if they're paying for that apartment $2,500 for a 1-bedroom, you for a 2-bedroom, probably $3,000 without. I mean, we did a survey when those apartments they're called One North. We did a survey to see what rents had changed in those like 10 streets. And people in their regular homes that didn't live in those luxury apartments just because they were next to the luxury apartment got an increase from their individual landlords from $300 to $600 in those apartments.
Oh, wow.
As the apartments got rented, immediately after they got a rent increase. And that's pure gentrification. And that don't understand the concept of rent control. Because I really think that people should have a way of like being fair about increasing rents. How can I think about elders. And I think elders pay their way already for us to give opportunity to settle in their home for the 10 upcoming healthy years that they may have, right?
Yeah.
And in a nursing home. You think they should be worried about a rent increase? Or, you know, for me, it's like unheard of, but that's what we're facing in Chelsea.
Yeah. No, and it's ludicrous to me. It's like, it reminds me of like the fact that like Massachusetts has a ban on it, so that, like cities and towns can't even pass their own laws if they wanted to on that. The joke I always make is that whenever I see in some other state, like a conservative state legislature trying to pass laws to curtail its like liberal capital city's ability to pass its own like, let's say, pro-worker, pro-tenant laws, I'm like, Massachusetts beat you by 100 years. Because it's like absurd that we have such restrictions, or even let's say that the more recent ban of this back in like the early 90s, which we can tell with the affordable housing crisis, especially in the Boston region, that it's not serving us well, and that you do need policy solutions.
Yeah, and I really think, you know, we are part of all these housing groups, you know, to council. We're trying to basically pass a legislation where people have right to counsel, right, a lawyer, because we know very well that, you know, if you have 100 cases in Chelsea court and 90 people showed up with no lawyers, they will be evicted, right? This is a reality. We know for a fact that when you have a lawyer representing you in a court, that there's some type of mediation and some type of agreement that prevents the eviction. So we're trying to pass this legislation where the state of Massachusetts, same way that they're doing it in New York, have the right to counsel. The people have, and if a landlord has a dispute, he will get a lawyer, and I will get a lawyer as a tenant, and we're able to work out our differences, and with the ultimate goal of preventing evictions. And my situation in Chelsea, our situation in Chelsea, is that our tenants are not the traditional tenants. You have a home because of the cost of living. You have a home with a 3-bedroom apartment. You rent those rooms to a family, not to a roommate. Very different than Boston and other cities. So in Chelsea, you may have in room 1, Miss Gonzalez, in room 2, Miss Colon with 3 people, and in room 3, another family. And those individuals are paying like $1,000 for each room, plus a security deposit, plus 6-month rent. And then if the real landlord finds out that they're renting, they all get evicted, and the tenant that rented those rooms don't return their money back. So our housing situation is incredible. It's so complicated. It's so complex. And I tell the tenants all the time, whether you rent a room or an apartment, you still have rights under the court of law. And you have access to justice. So please do not be afraid of immigration, because there's laws that protect you as a tenant. But, you know, are afraid, not that many people know those things, or landlords immediately talk about immigration, you get scared, and then you don't come to seek those services that we can provide.
And I think that the point reminds me as well of how important, like how some of the issues that were already important before but are important now is some of the legislation in the State House, like the Safe Communities Act and the Work and Family Mobility Act, kind of to strengthen protections for immigrants. That like how vital is you need that, so that people aren't afraid of going to work or getting the services that they need because of ICE.
Yeah, so I think, you know, if there's something that shows, and I have to connect it with COVID-19 because I think about this a lot, but many of the employers that work in Logan, work at the in Boston, Chelsea residents that are immigrants from Chelsea, they take public transportation. They had access to a driver's license, because driver's license, it has nothing to do with an immigration status. When we are supporting driver's license, and our chief, Brian Kais, incredible working with that Mobility Coalition, with Natalicia and a sophisticated group of people that are putting this whole thing together, people, it doesn't guarantee anything. It basically allows you for that individual on the road, certified to be able to drive, to have an insurance in the car, and to be basically paying for those services the same way you and I pay. So having a driver's license is completely related to COVID-19, because if they were in their own car and they were not in the regular MBTA, they would probably, the spread wouldn't have been as big as when they're taking the T and being in places to go to work where they have to be with other people that may have been infected. The fact that our hospitality workers got very sick is because they were in hotel rooms, cleaning those hotel rooms where people exposed them to COVID-19. So I think that, so for example, I feel very frustrated. In the Chelsea Collaborative, I always tell people, please, if you're a non-documented worker and you're getting paid under the table, try to make it your business to get an IT number so you can show Uncle Sam that although you were undocumented, you had no papers to come to this country, while you were here, you did your responsible duty to pay your taxes, right? So we have a lot of people with IT numbers and they're paying into their taxes, right? But when it comes to unemployment benefits, they don't get no benefits on employment, although they've been paying taxes. So for me, the state of Massachusetts, with the Baker administration, which is a Republican administration, and he has been doing very good in terms of responding to COVID-19, I think we should all step it up and pass something that we haven't done in 30 years. In Massachusetts, we haven't done anything in regards to immigration policy or law for the longest. So for me, it is time to give something back to the people that have been contributing to making the economy of Massachusetts much better. We all have worked very hard to make Massachusetts better. So allow these individuals to get their driver's license. Once again, nothing to do with immigration. Driver's license is permission for me to safely drive my car. And if I bump into you or you bump into me, we can exchange, you know, fees. Your insurance company, it's pays or whatever. And that's all we ask. Nothing to do with immigration. And it's also incredible to know that the person that is right next to you driving has a name and an ID.
And knows how to drive.
He's certified to drive, has taken a road test. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, it's nothing to do with immigration.
Yeah.
So, the damn law and allow people to safely drive our roads, for moms to drive their kids to school and not be afraid that when they have a police officer next to them, they get all nervous and may crash without having insurance or without having that road test. So let's do that. And let's do a Safe Community Act. We think that those are two things that has nothing to do with immigration. It has to do with us being compassionate about our neighbors, not hiding the facts that our low-income immigrant communities have struggled for decades, no benefits. And in the meantime, USA has benefited tremendously from the labor. So let's not be hypocrites. Let's do the right thing. You know, let's pass this legislation to show good faith. And that it's time for us to pay it back for those people that have contributed in making America great.
Yeah, no, especially the one is how immigrants make up such a large share of the essential workers right now. As we're even thinking about like who the essential workers in the economy are, I would say that the janitorial staff, the healthcare workers, the grocery clerks, like immigrants are heavily represented in all of those. And they're the ones that like we rely on for things to be functioning at all right now.
Sure. Yes. So I think, so those are the challenges. Jonathan, I will be remiss if I don't mention also that although I'm usually complaining about, in terms of workers' rights, people being paid and stuff, that when it came to COVID-19, our business sector, including the small ones, they really step it up for Chelsea.
That's good.
Through providing funds to the One Chelsea Fund, which is a fund that people make contributions to. So that 3 organizations can give checks to families for $250. So, business have done that, whether they're just bringing us pallets of produce from the produce to provide, whether it's came, whether it's, all these Goya and companies that have provided. So I think for me, it's like when this crisis happened, even the little people that had nothing gave, but also the companies like really step it up.
Yeah.
What I asked in terms of that step up that they have done is that they continue to do it in other ways, in supporting legislation that brings about some economic equality, right? Some economic equalities in terms of fair wages, or stepping up and not waiting for 3 years from now when the salary may be $15 an hour. Step up right now and say, you know what? People in Chelsea and people in Massachusetts that work for me need this income. And rather than me paying them $12.50 or $20, I'm going to step it up and give you a $2 increase. Because I tell you, people think that when the light switch goes on, that we have some normalcy in our life, that we're going to be okay in terms of economic issues. Absolutely not. If anything, the aftermath would also be a lot worse.
Yeah.
People are not going to have jobs to go to. People are going to be losing their homes. Housing is going to be like very critical. People in Chelsea, we don't have a shelter. So, if you are a family of undocumented, you have no access to Boston shelters either. And so, and Massachusetts already has an issue of homelessness. So all these things we need to address. The COVID-19 brought about things that we've been dealing for in decades.
Yeah.
So I think that we just have to be better human beings to continue to give and figure out those ways that when we don't agree on something, we learn to disagree for the common good of the people. So I think that those are things that I would urge our legislation, our governor, Maura Healey, and all these things have been great. Our city officials in Chelsea, our city council, and Tom Ambrosino, they've been doing amazing. Sal Di Domenico, our senator, and has been incredible. Dan Ryan. So I've been very comfortable with their response. And we need to change our hearts in order for poor people to come to at least, in the scale of poverty, just a little bit comfortable that they don't have to be counting pennies for them to buy their box of maseca, to have 60 tortillas for 4 days and beans in order for them to have a meal. I really think that what happened in Chelsea and why this pandemic hit us so hard, because our families didn't have a savings account. We live check to check. We have to have 3 jobs in order for us to get paid for a good job. We should have a real good paying job, and that's it. But people also have to work. And in our surrounding communities, usually this happens in communities of colors, you have to have 3 jobs or 2 jobs full time in order for you to get a good paying job. So we need to work on that and creating jobs that are sustainable, that are able to sustain our families. And we cannot be so greedy. These, large companies that continue to make money, that remain open and are not giving back, should be giving back. And if not, they should be taxed. If not, they should be fined. So that's in terms of economic sustainability. It's a big worry that I have in mind.
Yeah.
I know that our community is poor and they're not going to survive. Chelsea was moving in the right direction with our city officials. And now we have taken probably 5 years of step back, 10 years of economic sustainability. So I think all those things worry me tremendously.
Yeah. And so what are some of the things, as the state develops as a continual policy response to both this and the fall, what are some of the things that you'd like to see the state put in place, both in terms of helping Chelsea now, as well as to make sure that economic recovery can actually be equitable and can have that shared prosperity? that we need?
So I think in terms of our state, so our state should give sort of like a stimulus relief to every resident in the Commonwealth. And if you are able to show that you work in Massachusetts, etc., whether you're documented or undocumented, whether you're a citizen or not, you should be getting paid some type of relief so I can keep my landlord happy. If you give me $500 like what they did in California, and I'm able to give you the $500 as a landlord, I'm just showing that this is all I have, but I'm providing it to you for rent. I know that I have to pay you the rest, but at least it's out of good faith, right? So I think it's some type of stimulus package for Massachusetts to help during this economic period, right? Because what the federal government doing is not yet enough.
Mm-hmm.
Even behind a group of individuals that soon will be homeless. And then I really think that there are policies that we've been sitting around forever. The stuff with the driver's license, I think that an economic package that addresses the need of the small people, not continues to sort of like support people that are already making lots of money. So I think in terms of the stuff that Rum has worked on in terms of those tax
like the fair share amendment.
The fair share amendments, those things should be passed. There's no brainer.
Yeah.
You making $2 million and whatever, you should be taxing the small people should not. I mean, that's fair. That's common sense. So I think that type of, for me, everything that I work on, the subcontracting bill, for those employers that are continue to pass their responsibility to their smaller guy. No, if you hire me, for example, at a company, if I'm the millionaire or billionaire and that hires the contractor to do this work and he hires 15 people and they don't get paid, you as the big person should be paying those workers. You should be, it shouldn't be the responsibility of the middleman. It should be your responsibility. If the middleman doesn't pay, you should be the one paying. So passing the subcontracting bill is huge for Massachusetts. There's $1 billion stolen in wages every year in Massachusetts. That's not news. That is real, and that happens a lot in immigrant communities and communities of colors, but it happens in Massachusetts to everyone. To young people, because they're young and they're not able to speak out, or they don't want to lose their job, or their mom is waiting for them to bring that check so they can pay the gas bill. Because in our youth employment, that's what happens. Moms rely or families rely on that little money that we give for them to buy their clothes, for them to help with the rent, etc. So I think those things. And then the Safe Security Act, that would be amazing. Something with unemployment benefits for people that are not able to apply for employment benefits, a relief, some type of financial relief. And I think that we have to be honest to understand that we have a community that's under the shadows, right? To bring about providing jobs, providing some type of workforce development that allows them to learn different trades in order for them to get their good paying jobs. So I think Massachusetts is a very good state with people with big hearts. But I really think that we all have to come together, leave the politics outside, and come together for the common good of the people, for us to provide good services for families, to do what is right for our neighbors. And I think with COVID-19, I say, if people are so given like they have given to us, and they have this mentality to give to our Chelsea community because we're unemployed, because we're immigrant, because we're poor, because we're elders, because we're people infected by and affected by the pandemic. Let's then leave this table, right, when we control this. Let's go to the table of policy changes. Work together for a better Massachusetts. Because the people are there. Their hearts are in the right place. So let's leave the politics aside. Buy a platform where people economically can sustain themselves.
Yeah, it kind of highlights that importance of like, we need that work of charity and mutual aid, but we also need the systems in place by policy to make it so that we don't need as much work filling in the gap so that people can have that economic security that should be treated
Right.
as a basic human right.
Yes, right.
Awesome. And then since like, as I think I had joked before, in this age, I have like another Zoom meeting coming up. So I want to be able to wrap up shortly, but how can people who are watching support the great work that you've been doing in Chelsea? What would you want to give as like a takeaway to people watching that they can do to help?
So I will say three things in terms of takeaway. I would say, first, continue to donate food to the Chelsea Collaborative and other local food pantry. Chelsea has one fund through United Way. If you have any monies and you want to contribute there, those monies are divided by TND, Green Roots, and the Chelsea Collaborative, and those checks go directly to families. So you can contribute money to that one fund. And then my very important request for the aftermath is to let's come together for the good of the state, and let's change policies that benefit everyone, regardless if you're documented or undocumented, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of sort of like our inequalities. Let's try to be together about some more equalities, because everyone that has responded to our call has done it with their heart. So let's put your heart into work in order for us to change policies that allow us to strive for success, that allow us to feed people, that allow parents not to have 2 different jobs or 3 jobs, that you actually don't see your kids. So, let's bring those good intentions into practice, because you have demonstrated that by giving to the Chelsea Collaborative and our local funds and United Way, all those funds that have been established, people are donating. And they know that we're feeding undocumented families. They know that we're feeding poor people. So let's change policies so these individuals can be taken care of them for the long term. Let's pass the Mobility Act. Massachusetts has never changed anything in terms of immigration. I know that we're not the federal government, but there's things like the Mobility Act that we pass that there's no brainer. It's just about safe roads.
Yeah.
That's what I would ask.
Awesome. And then so for people who are watching who want to learn more about the great work that the Chelsea Collaborative does, where should people go? How can people find you on social media?
Okay, sorry. They should go to the Chelsea Collaborative webpage. There's a lot of information there. They should also go to the City of Chelsea webpage for the One Fund. Anybody can go to the One Fund through the Chelsea Collaborative or through the City of Chelsea. And I really think we need volunteers. If people are willing to, this past week, we are doing 379 COVID-19 families that we're feeding. So those are different than the 4,000 that we fed yesterday. Those, we need like 12, 13 drivers. And yesterday we were extremely short. So if you don't make no contact with people that are sick, literally identify those boxes that are pre-made by one of our donors. Maggie has been doing an amazing job with that. And those boxes are pre-made. You pick them up. We give you an address, a location to take it. You drop them off in their stairway. And from your car, you call them and say, hey, your meal is in your stairway. And you have no contact. You just wave from your car. And that's all we ask you. So we need volunteers. And then food, as I said, food is I'm going to keep the food pantry. So our staff knows that they may be working from home probably for 1.5 or 2 months more. We're going to keep the food operation, because we know that even if the switch is on, people are not going to make enough money for them. And then there's another group that also is not going to have a job to go to. So keep the food coming. I'm extremely grateful for all the donors. I'm telling you, the volunteers, the strangers that have written letters. I'm going to make a wall when this happens. And after I fix my office, because it's all I'm going to make a wall just of all the thank yous and all the beautiful connections. You cannot imagine all the letters from people that were living here in 1950. And they have written to us, my family lived here in 1938. My great-grandmother owned this. And they send me these letters and reconnecting. It has been, I tell you, COVID-19 is bad what happened in Chelsea. But this has been for me most rewarding experience. to see people that the notes that they write, the connections they make back to the city, how love we all feel, like, de verdad que, mira, de corazón, de verdad, me siento tan feliz. I feel so happy of the response of the people and their willingness to help. Strangers from Newton, Cambridge, Somerville, Saugus, Wakefield, everywhere coming together for Chelsea. Arlington, I mean, I am blessed. I am blessed to serve. I am blessed to be doing this work. I am glad that we began this thing in the porch of my house. That's how we began the food pantry.
Oh, wow.
And great that to have the staff and our city officials, our government stepped it up and immediately appropriated $1.5 million for rental assistance. They appropriated $500,000 for food. They've been doing everything they can with little resources and understanding that this is not over. And for me, it's not over.
Yeah.
In terms of our people. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining, and thank you for all of the wonderful work and such vital work that the Chelsea Collaborative was doing before, and is especially doing now, and will continue to do after. And then thank you to everybody who's listening now on our Facebook live stream, or will listen later when this is posted on YouTube.
Gracias. Thank you, Jonathan. God bless you all. Thank you for helping Chelsea.